So let's talk about narrating into your PowerPoint. Let's give a quick overview of audio considerations for this particular PC. Well, I'm going to right click on the speaker icon in the lower right hand corner of the screen. What I need is the hardware. I need to right click, go to recording devices. I want to record from the USB headset microphone I have plugged in. Let's go ahead and double click on the microphone I do want to use. The most pertinent feature of this tool set is the Levels tab. Now for this particular microphone, I want to keep it a little bit lower. I'm getting good audio from it. I hit OK, and now it's time to narrate. And of course, that's just a simple matter of going to the menu tab labeled Slideshow, and right there under is the Record Slideshow tab. So let's go ahead and click on it. Yes, we do want to record the slide and animation timings so that they will coordinate and synchronize with our narration. And yes, of course, we do want to record the audio narration. That is why we're here, and we'll start recording now. PowerPoint then switches from edit mode to presentation mode, except this presentation mode is different, as you can see. It has this menu. The counting timer on the left indicates how long you have been recording on this particular slide. You can pause the recording. So let's resume the recording now. I want to point out again what was demonstrated in the opening video where I spoke throughout a transition like that and my audio recording was interrupted. What PowerPoint does is it has a separate recording for each slide, so as you transition from one to the next, it concludes the previous one, completes the transition, and then begins the next audio recording. And I would not record until you see that particular slide's counter begin to run. Not only are we recording audio narration, but we are changing the timing of all of these elements. What I mean by that is that this element in particular now has the programming not to begin playing and looping its video until nearly a minute into my narration. And so now I'm going to program that text box background to fly in at the 1 minute and 20 second mark. And my click just programmed it so. Same for the text, that now flies in, and same for the final element. All of these elements are now programmed so that their choreography, their entrances and activities are now triggered in synchronization with my audio narration. So now that let's just say we've finished our narration. We're satisfied with 8 seconds on this slide and 2 minutes and 45 seconds for the duration of the presentation. Let's hit escape. PowerPoint now closes presentation/narration mode and moves us back into edit mode. And as you can see from these thumbnail representations of each slide in the timeline here, there is an icon indicating that each one has narration to it. And that icon is also represented here in the lower right hand corner of this particular slide's edit pane. I'm going to click on it and you'll recognize the menu controls from before: volume, counter, playback. PowerPoint then switches from edit mode to presentation mode, except this presentation mode you heard earlier. But what if you're not satisfied with the recording? Well, like I said before, PowerPoint is infinitely editable. So if I need to change the audio narration on this particular slide, for example, I have multiple options. Let's click on it, go to the context menu tab. Is it format? No, it's playback. Yes. And there's a trim feature for it. Just like in one of the demonstrations earlier, when I manipulated video into this slide and also trimmed it, this works exactly the same way. And you can click and drag and manipulate the beginning and ends of this recording just like you did with the video, changing the duration according to your needs, changing the in point or the out point according to your needs. Just that simple: hit, click, and OK. Now, one thing I have to note that you probably suspected is that now that we've trimmed several seconds from the head and tail of the narration of this clip, you're going to have equal amount of seconds at the beginning and end of this slide being displayed with no narration. But let's say you just want to discard this audio altogether. Just select it and hit delete. In the pop-up window under the Record Slideshow button, you have the option to start recording from the current slide that's selected. There's one quick best practice I want to recommend. If I need to edit the audio on a particular slide, I insert a buffer slide so that I do not accidentally record over the next slide. Because once the audio narration begins to record on a particular slide, it immediately deletes the prior recording in favor of the new recording. And if I did not intend to record on it, I do not want to lose that. So the buffer slide prevents that. So let's demonstrate that. Start recording from the current slide. Yes. Changes from edit mode to presentation mode on the slide that we selected. And we are now narrating, and we are now programming the elements and their timings and their triggers. And we're done, except that, oops, I accidentally moved to the next slide. Thank goodness I had that buffer slide to keep me from recording and losing this narration here. So now I have successfully re-recorded on the slide that we selected, and we are now narrating, and we are now programming the elements and their timings and their triggers. So we have successfully replaced the audio narration on this slide and only this slide. So I have here a version of that PowerPoint presentation, except this has no audio narration in it for the sake of this demonstration. I do, of course, have the original. And as you can see, it has the original narration from what you heard from the opening video.
Hello, I'm Richard Massey from the University of North Texas Health Science Centers.
Yep, fantastic diction. I also have, if you've watched the addendum demonstrating how the Mac version of PowerPoint can work into this workflow, you saw me demonstrate how to introduce its narration technique. And so if you're working on a Mac and want to know more about how to do all these operations, seek out that video near the bottom of this page where this video is posted. So you see the icon representing the QuickTime formatted WAV file narration, and compare it to the PC version, the Windows formatted WAV file narration. And as was demonstrated in that lesson,
this is the test audio.
Narrating audio in the Mac version of PowerPoint is compatible with the PC version of PowerPoint, but the reverse is not true.